Okay. What's going on, everybody? Just one more minute and we'll be diving into the lesson. So you guys know, been using this book here, The Urban Faith, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm urban. I was reading a story in the beginning here. Let's talk about a 16-year-old girl. She's riding with her mom and they got hit by a drunk driver. So, you know, the girl had to go to the hospital and they was writing her off for dead. And it later says that, she held on to her faith and God restored her. So it's like after 2 years of operation, skin grafts, the guy, he went to prison for, it says, a few years. But after she got better, it said 5 years. So after she got better, they went to go visit him. And just to tell him that, she forgave him. So it's like, could you forgive somebody who run you off the road, right, run you over with a tractor trailer? That's deep. It's like really, truly showing God's love, God's peace, you know what I mean? But all right. So let's dive in. 701, we diving in. Today's lesson is gonna come from the book of James. I'm gonna go back and forth because I got the computer on and the line. So James chapter 1. He's in an epistle. He is a writer, a literary. So that's what epistle means. So we're going to go from verses 1 down to 11, and then I'm going to give you the 5 W's and the 1 how on this lesson. Who, what, where, when, why, and the how you can apply this to your life. So let's go. James 1:1 reads, "This letter is from James, a slave of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. I am writing to the 12 tribes, believers scattered abroad. Greetings. Dear brothers and sisters, when trouble of any kind comes your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty as unsettled as a wave is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything that they do. Believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them. And those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like a flower in the field. The hot sun rises and the grass withers. The little flowers droop and falls, and its beauty fades away. In the same way, the rich will fade away with all of their accomplishments." So James is saying a lot here in just these first 11 verses. But we're going to hit you with the 5 W's. The what? What is James doing? James is encouraging, he's writing to the diaspora. The diaspora are the Jews who have been displaced due to slavery and conquering. They've been getting conquered because they weren't following God. So God allowed them to be conquered by Assyria and Babylonia. Babylonia or Babylon. Yeah, so he's writing to them. And what he's doing is he's trying to encourage them, saying that invite trouble. It says here, let's go back to the text. Dear brothers and sisters, when trouble of any kind comes your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. What does this mean? We all think just because you follow Christ, you won't, have to face trials and tribulations. You're like free from the storm. And that's not true. Even though you choose to follow Christ, you are still subject to the weather, meaning that life is going to happen to you. And he's saying that when life happens, when turmoil comes to your life, you should be happy about it because it's an opportunity to test your faith. Much like when you go to the gym, you want to put more weight on there and you're kind of worried about that weight, but it gives you an opportunity to test your arms, to get stronger. So this is what he's saying now. When trouble of any kind comes your way, consider it an opportunity. So what he is doing is encouraging the diaspora to look at life differently. He's talking, what he says here in the first 11 verses is about life experience, or how to experience life. Everything's not always going to be joy. So when trouble comes, look at it as an opportunity. Change your perspective. So we got the who. The who is the Epistle James, and who is he writing to? He's writing to the 12 tribes who are displaced. The what is he saying? He's encouraging them to keep your faith strong. When trouble comes, see it as an opportunity. He's encouraging them to keep their mindset focused on God. Okay. So also, God also speaks to the nature of, James also speaks towards the nature of God in these first 11 verses. He says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God. He's saying that God is generous. And he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But he backs this up. He says right in the next verse, verse 6, he says, but when you ask him, be sure your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is unsettled. So this is much like Revelations 3:16, where it says, I will spit you out because you are lukewarm. You have to be fully invested. He's encouraging you to be fully invested in God. So if you are seeking wisdom to get through your trial, he will give it to you. He will show you how. He will tell you and console you through your trial or whatever trouble you may be facing at the moment. So he says, ask and he will give, but rely solely on him. Don't ask and then go try to do something on your own strength. Ask and then let God talk to you about it, or let God bring somebody into your life that's going to help you through your trouble. See it as an opportunity for growth. Trouble is growth. Crisis, opportunity. We're going to match these two words. When crisis happens, it's also an opportunity. When the stock market crashes, it's an opportunity. It's somewhere. You got to find it. But always when there's a problem, there's a solution somewhere. You be the solution to the problem. Okay, let's continue on. Lastly, in this last verse, he brings attention to the worthlessness of putting value on material things. Let's go to the text. He says, believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them. When he says this, he's saying when you're poor, you pray to God for blessing and he will bless you. So therefore he honors you. So he goes forward to say in verse 10, those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like flowers in the field. So when you're rich and you're up high, you're high society, he will bring you low. So he brings the low high and the high low. What we're talking about is experience here. And what he's talking about is also living in content for where you are, because you may be low for now, but if you keep living right for Christ and you pray and you ask him, he will then lift you high. And if you're up high, you're rich, traveling the world, tasting all the finest wines and meats and reading the best literature, he will bring you low to remind you that you're human. Like, you're not above the law of God. Maybe some people try to beat the law of the land, but you're not above the law of God. So he will bring you low. God will teach you a lesson. You're not escaping it. It's about balance and contentment. Okay. So he also, when he's saying everything that fades, so it goes down to the last verse, verse 11. The hot sun rises and the grass withers. The little flower droops and falls, and its beauty fades away. In the same way, The rich will fade away with all of their accomplishments. So in this, what do we learn? We learn that everything fades away. We will all die. One, we will all face some type of trouble in our lives, regardless if we're wholly sanctified, bathed in the blood. You're gonna be exposed to the elements. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. What he's saying is, when you have bad days, very specifically, understand that there's an opportunity. There's a silver lining in your storm. Ask God, how can I get through this particular trouble that I'm going through? And then rely solely on God. Don't go read no tarot cards or some type of witchcraft. Rely solely on God, because he explains about the unbeliever, or let me go to the text. Let me refer to the text. When you ask him, be sure that your faith is on God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty. So saying a slave can't serve two masters. So those with divided loyalty are unsettled. So when you have to be settled in the Lord. I choose to follow the Lord and nobody else. That's it. What God has for me is for me. This understanding gives you a particular contentment, meaning that, yes, I may be poor right now, but one day I have all of these things, but I kind of forgot what it's like to be a regular person. God will humble. God will teach. God will show you the full experience of life. Okay? So this is what this is about. Life experience. So the where and when, they're not, it's not highlighted in this particular text, the where and when. But I would like to leave you with the how. How can you use this in everyday life? I want to add in a verse that's not here, but Romans 12:2. It reads this. I know you probably heard it before, but it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So he's giving you wisdom here. He's telling you to trust in the Lord, and in this way you can have discernment. Trust in the Lord in your troubles. When we add this knowledge, when we build upon this knowledge within our lives, we should be transformed mentally, meaning that we know what is good. We know what is the will of God. We know that when trouble comes, I shall rely on the Lord. If I need wisdom, I shall ask the Lord. This is wisdom. So these are tools that you can use to fight whatever battle you're going through. I just don't know how I'm going to make it. Ask the generous God and he will give. But do not have divided loyalty. Do not be lukewarm. I encourage you to be on fire for Jesus and to keep your faith strong in the midst of your trials or your troubles. So, yeah, everything fades away. So there's this last little part, a quote from Barack Obama. I wanna put it here and leave you on this note. It says, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So you have all the tools you need. And if you don't, come back here next week and we'll talk about it some more. It's been another Bible study. Thank you guys for tuning in. And till next week. Peace.